Alright, I've got it stripped down now. As I mentioned, the thwart is rotted right out. First thing I want to do though is measure the distance here, because I'm going to take the thwart out and the canoe could start coming together, and I want to make sure I know what the original distance was here. Alright, so that's looking like 33, well, pretty close to, depending on where you measure to. I'm guessing that's going to be 33 3/4 inches. I hate measuring in inches, but that's all this tape has. Anyway, 33 3/4 probably would be the length of that thwart. So that's been recorded. Alright, so I picked up a new thwart. I got a yoke. This was just a piece of wood. This is contoured to make it easier to portage. I didn't get the deep dish yoke. There's a more finely contoured one called a deep dish that's way more comfortable, but it's also way more expensive. So for this use, if it were my own canoe, I might have paid more for the deep dish. Basically, that's a 36-inch yoke. I've got to trim a little bit off of each side, as you see here. You got to make sure you trim the same amount off of both sides. I measured this at 33 and a half inches is what I got to trim it to. So you just do the math on what that means. You got to trim off of each end. I also wanted to note that, judging by what I see here, the way this was originally installed was that the thwart would have been put into place, and then these holes would have been drilled here for the rivets to go through, and drilled straight into the wood here at the end of the thwart, and then the rivets would have been put in place afterwards. So that means that putting in a new thwart, I'm going to have to cut it to length, and then I'm going to have to estimate where to drill the holes to allow that to go into there, and then drill them, and then I'm going to have to place it and then mark these holes from behind, and then take the piece back out and drill the holes for those for the bolts that actually hold it into place. So it's going to be one of those things where it was probably easier to put in the first time. Shouldn't be too bad sticking it in after the fact though. So I have it marked. I'm going to take 1.25 inches off of each side, but I just noticed an issue here. So I don't know where square is because of the nature of this piece. I don't even know if this is square right here with that, with these two. I don't know if that's square now, although it does look square. So I set that there, I check against here, and it's square. But when I get over here to make the actual cut, I don't have anything to ensure that I've got it square. So I asked myself, what would Matthias do? And I think Matthias would do something like this. And he would put that on there, and then he would clamp those two pieces together. And then when I get out to here and they're still clamped together, I can be pretty sure that I'm still getting a square cut over here. Alright, so I've clamped them together. So I think when I get down, when I slide this down, I'm still going to be able to maintain square because I have the piece, I have this piece sitting up against my fence. I'm going to go by that, and we'll see where we get. Alright, so I think I got a pretty square cut there. I think we're doing pretty good. So I'm going to flip it around and do the other side. Now I'm erring on the side. I may have to make another very fine cut. I'm erring on the side of cutting it so it's too long, because once it's too short, you're done and you can't make it longer. Alright, with some careful measuring and a little bit of guessing, get that off of there. So I managed to estimate. I just went on here and you can see where I drew my lines to estimate where those drill holes had to be, and then I kind of looked here and I looked at the other piece, the original piece, the holes were not in the center this way, they were off to one edge, so I had to estimate that, and you can see they're off from each other too. It was a little bit wacky, and I had to do some fine shaving with a knife afterwards and stuff, but I do appear to have accomplished this. So basically I set this side down in there, that fits the holes, and then I give a push on the side of the canoe here, and then that fits in, and that's in pretty good. So then what you got to do here is you've got the two holes here that I've got to drill up into. Originally they had a bolt going right through the piece. I think what I might do is just pre-drill a couple of small holes and then put wood screws up through from the bottom. It will look nicer too, because it won't show on the top. It's going to be more difficult to do because I'm coming up this way. So I'm just going in here and marking the spots with my pencil on all four of the holes on both sides, because there's no way I'm going to be able to pre-drill it from this angle. So mark it, and then here we go, 1, 2, and the other side 3, 4. I'm going to pre-drill those with a really small drill bit. Then the next step is, what am I going to use for screws? I've got, I think that's a 3/4 inch deck screw. They're, you know, they're deck screws. They're non-rusting, made out of some kind of brass or something like that, and it's just slightly thicker than there. But when you count the little piece of metal that's my bracket that's on the canoe, we should be pretty good. The biggest challenge I'm going to have is getting the screwdriver in from behind in that scenario. Alright, so I got my little mini screwdriver. It's for working on computers. But you can see it's pretty ideal for getting in behind here. There's going to be some elbow grease involved in this scenario. I'm sure that there are other power tools that will get me into here, but I have the holes pre-drilled, and this should be pretty easy work once I put the camera down and get both hands into it. So this side, I managed to get okay just with my little screwdriver. Up on this end, for some reason, I wasn't able to get them in all the way, which forced me to think of a plan B for my wrench. And I remembered my little bicycle. I've got a little bicycle wrench here that's just so I'll be able to get the rest of it in pretty easily with this, since it bends around the corner like that. So Mother Necessity forced me to find a better way, and this is it. Alright, perfect. That other wrench allowed me to get everything done up just right. These are all in now, and even these ones that I was able to get in before, I cinched them up a little bit tighter with the other wrench. So we're all ready to roll. That's my that's the thwart done. Let's test it out. There we go. Brand new thwart, yoke style thwart. Now we just have the seats left to go. There, make sure you